Alright you guys, Julian here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make 2HOLLIS style music to go along with this video. You can get this full template at the top of the description on my website, so make sure to check that out. Thanks for the support guys, and let's get started. Alright, so 156 BPM usually for this like houseier stuff. I'll do a video on the trappier stuff as well, but obviously I wanted to start with the dance music. First thing we got up here is this group. So we got our bass line and our drums in one here. I'll show you that stuff, but mainly the reason we're doing this is just to saturate it together, because there's a certain sound you get like when you hear tracks like Afraid and stuff like that, where it's like, you know, a lot of dance music is engineered to be very kind of like clean and nothing's like clashing or nothing's like distorting each other. This is kind of like, what do you get when you actually play with that and kind of make it an instrument, right? So this group here is literally just to put that all into the saturator. Here's without it. Then with it, you see how that just gives it that extra like shine almost, right? This is not even that wet. I think that's the other thing with this. When you hear this stuff, it can sound like, you know, they're just clipping FL Studio into these places where it's like kind of creating something. I think it's actually very calculated saturation, and I think what they're doing is like some of it is kind of breaking. Like for example, on the master, we have some stuff that I'll show you as well, and I'm pretty sure like we are clipping into that. No, we're actually not, but we are definitely pushing it. So it's like sometimes you're pushing it, sometimes like this is actually very clean and simple, and you just might not realize that it's actually not that much going on. But yeah, then we move down to the bass line. So it's 3 layers. This is the actual progression. So you see, even like the MIDI, like I can show you how to make the sounds, I can show you how to get the distortion, all that, but even just the MIDI on its own is very like hectic and moving really quick, right? We're in D minor, we're going 6/4 root. It's like a pretty popular chord progression, and then the end here it goes up to the 3rd. But yeah, like even just the MIDI is like kind of hectic. It's not just that sound, right? It's all working together. Now for the sound here, it's 3 layers. It's this one, kind of like our sub bass, which is just a saw wave, and then another saw wave, which is actually a 5th up from that, going into a low pass filter, a little bit of distortion, and then we're side chaining that to our kick. We got this one, which is like this wavetable layer. So it's just one oscillator, this Galactica. I've got the filter on. It's a low pass with a high resonance and a drive there, so that's doing a lot. Like if I turn that off, so that's what gives it that kind of more juicy, like visceral, kind of more 2HOLLIS-y sort of sound, right? We got the unison on classic, a little bit of chorus, a bit of echo as well. This is really fast, but it's giving us some stereo spread, because that's another thing I noticed is like they got these super big, subby, distorted basses that are really wide. So this is how you do that. You essentially have this one really wide layer, right? Then we move to this amp here. You can see I've just got this on the rock setting. It's on dual, you know, pretty simple. Sidechain, and then a high pass. And then for the last bass layer, right, it just gives us a little bit more of that like oomph and that kind of like almost like EDM sort of thing. But you can see this texture sits really well. Right, it can just really give this like a nice, more digital kind of sound. So this is the Science 3 wavetable. It's honestly a very similar patch to the last one. I'm just playing with different wavetable, no unison, and where the actual filter cutoff is, right? But this is a good way to make these bass layers, is you can like just kind of duplicate your patch and tweak it a little bit more, and they're very cohesive this way. Then we move down to the drums. The drums are really simple. There's only 3 layers here. Yeah, I noticed there's really not a lot of extra layers in these tracks, right? I think the drums being really simple and open is a big part of what makes it feel so visceral like that. And it gives you room as well, like something like this can fill up a lot more mid-range, right? So yeah, it's really simple. I think it's more just the sounds, like they're all really short. Like I took this clap and made it really short with the envelope. I did the same on the hi-hat. And then over here we got the little intro. You know, even just like really minimal, just that's all you need. You don't need a whole build-up snare and all this kind of effects. You can just use the drums like this to kind of make that transition. So moving out of that group, then we've got our first lead. So what this one's doing, it sounds a bit odd when you put it all together. It starts its life as this. So it's essentially just, again, we're in D minor. It's just this melody that worked really well with the bass line. Right, and then what I'm doing is I've got all the notes going into each other, and then there's that legato on there. So it kind of like already glides it and makes it a bit weird, but it's a nice melody that's fitting with the bass, right? Then what's going on is we've got this patch where it's like creating this saw thing, but it's actually kind of subdued because I'm actually bringing this low pass down. So that's what you're getting right out of the synth, plus the noise unison kind of makes it a bit weirder, right? But then you actually put some reverb and distortion on it. Right, and then we start to get this cool textured kind of thing, and because the notes are gliding and you're distorting the reverb, it gets really interesting. Then we got this auto pan doing 16th notes. A bit of grain delay here, you can see kind of adding those like high pitch things and some more weirdness. Then the redux, which is very important because we brought the bits down. So that's giving it that like struggling to get out kind of sound. And if you put that after like delay and reverb, it can really create some very interesting textures, especially with grain delay, right? Then we got this sidechain and high pass, very important. Again, this stuff sounds messy, but they're doing a lot to actually keep it very clean. Then we got lead number 2. Right, so this is just another kind of repetitive melody. I've noticed this with these kind of tracks. They'll have these repetitive melodies, and then the bass line is where the chord progression. Right, and it creates this really catchy thing. So what we're doing here is, this is again in D minor. You can see that we're doing the 3rd, the 9th, and the 5th. A little bit of the minor 7th as well. A 6th here, you know. Very basic voices within the scale. It's just creating something catchy with them. Now the way we created this sound, it's a pretty simple patch. It's a sine wave inside a wavetable. Noise unison with both knobs all the way up. And then I've got a high pass filter actually with a high resonance. This is actually like a dubstep trick. Like a lot of times, like if you're making a dubstep bass, you can do like... Right, you can get some cool kind of growls with that high pass like that, with the high resonance. But we're actually playing it up high, and so it's basically just creating that kind of like, and if you bring... See, the resonance really pushes that overdrive, and what it does is it pushes it in like a very particular range in the frequency spectrum, so you're literally just creating texture that way. Sidechain, high pass, keep it really simple. Then we have this last little thing. I wouldn't even call this a lead. It's just this little bell. It hits A, aka the 5th of our key. So actually, not the root note, the 5th. And it just hits every half note. You can hear it like... You know, it kind of like sets the tone, especially over like... This will be a cool part of the track as well, right? So, yeah, it's just that one note. It's a sine wave inside a wavetable. I'm just using a noise unison combined with this redux here to just create like a cool little stab, right? I actually ended up compressing it because you hear that tail. I just really wanted to bring out like every little piece of the redux that was coming out. A bit of echo, again, to create like a stereo width with the really fast time and the ping pong mode. Sidechain, high pass. And then the last thing we got is just a bit of vocals. Now, obviously, these are really important when you talk about those 2HOLLIS tracks. Right, so what I'm doing here is I took this old acapella I had. This is actually from like a very old song I wrote, and I just had it on my hard drive.
Tricks with good weed taking on.
Like, I wasn't even like that good at recording my voice when I did that, honestly. But I just took this one piece. I basically took this little one bar here, you know, and kind of made it something different. I got it in key with the track, and then I just made this chop over here, and all this chop is, it's literally that beginning. It's just that one piece of the beginning of the vocal chop. So these are not that complicated. You just grab that thing, and then you can see playing around with like the note lengths really creates a lot of swag. right? And then having the other vocal to just go, ooh, every 2 bars. You know, it's really simple. The vocals are just another instrument inside of the mix. As far as processing on these, I've got, so on the first one, what it's doing is we actually start with a little bit of a low pass filter to kind of give it some vibe. Like if I turn that off, see what I'm saying? It kind of makes it more lo-fi. Bit of redux, and that's really fighting with like the bit crush on there. You know, you can really hear it if I bring it up. It's like struggling to get through the bits section. A bit of compression to just kind of like push it up, right? And make it feel really like larger than life. A bit of echo, which is moving really fast, but it's on the ping pong setting, so you're getting just that huge stereo width. There's a lot of stereo spread on the 2HOLLIS vocals. I think that's a big part of what makes those vocals sound so big in these tracks. And also this helps because a lot of the instruments are very down the center, so this will just instantly put those vocals in a different part of the mix. Sidechain, even sidechain your vocals and this kind of stuff, and then a high pass, which is actually up pretty high. And then on this one, it's a little bit different, you know, but it's pretty similar. Okay, so we're compressing it. We're doing the stereo spread with ping pong, except the delay is a little bit slower. We've got a bit of reverb. Then we're reduxing it, so you're really getting that texture, and then sidechain high pass. So that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can grab this full template at the top of the description on my website. Thanks for the support, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.